If Andrew had known this vacation would start with a public humiliation and end with something even stranger, he might have stayed home. But here he was, face down in a resort pool in Cancun, fully clothed, gasping for air, clutching a phone that was very much not waterproof, and all because of her voice. "Hey, excuse me, is this chair taken?" That's what she said. Simple, polite, and completely unexpected. Andrew had been half asleep in a lounge chair near the pool, baking under the Mexican sun after a red-eye flight from Chicago. His sunglasses were on, earbuds in, head tilted back like a guy who didn't have a care in the world. But he absolutely did. Andrew always did. He didn't hear her approach. Just the sudden voice, female, confident, cutting through his drowsy playlist. His body reacted before his brain could catch up. He flinched, panicked, tried to sit up too fast, and instead, slip, trip, splash, into the pool. Clothes, shoes, phone, and pride, all submerged in an instant. People clapped. Someone laughed. A kid yelled, "Cannonball!" as if Andrew had done it on purpose. The water was warm, but Andrew's face was ice. He resurfaced with a sputter and looked around, already dreading what he'd see. Tourists with cocktails stared at him like he was part of the resort entertainment package. And on the edge of the pool, standing with her hand over her mouth, trying not to laugh, was the woman who'd spoken to him. She was stunning. Not Instagram influencer stunning. Real, offbeat, bright-eyed. She wore a baseball cap, cut-off shorts, a faded college t-shirt, and a grin that betrayed both amusement and concern. "Are you okay?" she asked. Andrew coughed. "Define okay." She laughed, kneeling to offer her hand. He took it, and with a slippery mess of flailing limbs, he hauled himself back to the edge of the pool, water sloshing off him like a drowned dog. The woman didn't move. She just held out a towel from a nearby chair. That was a dramatic way to say hello. Andrew blinked water from his eyes. "I specialize in dramatic entrances." She smiled. "Good to know. I'm Claire." Andrew sat on the edge of the pool, dripping onto the tiles, holding the now useless husk of his iPhone like it was a dead goldfish. Claire, meanwhile, sat next to him, legs crossed, sipping from a tall glass with a lime wedge and an absurd amount of salt on the rim. "First day here?" she asked, clearly trying not to laugh. Andrew exhaled. "Is it that obvious?" She nodded. "Either that, or you've made it your mission to be the most memorable man at the pool bar." He shook his head, spraying tiny droplets of water. "That wasn't a stunt. That was classic me." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Classic you?" Andrew gave a sheepish grin. "I have a history of meeting women in the most painfully awkward ways possible." She smiled, swirling her drink. "Then you must be a real hit on Bumble." Andrew laughed. "I actually deleted dating apps last month. They made me feel like a guy selling himself on Craigslist, with blurry photos and weird disclaimers." Claire held out her hand. "Well then, Craigslist guy, I'm Claire, and you just made my vacation 10 times more interesting." Andrew shook it. "Andrew, so what brings you to Cancun, Claire?" She looked out at the horizon. "A friend's bachelorette weekend. Lots of sun, too many sequins, and one too many tequila shots." Andrew nodded. "You?" She smirked. "What?" "You just said you instead of me. Shouldn't it be, I'm here for a friend's bachelorette weekend?" Claire grinned. "Oh, great. A grammar cop. That's what every woman dreams of." They both laughed. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, Andrew felt something loosen in his chest. A kind of lightness. The chaos of the fall, the embarrassment, the broken phone, it all faded next to the strange magnetic calm that Claire carried. "So," she said. "What about you? Why are you here?" Andrew hesitated. The real reason? He booked the trip after a brutal breakup, a half-refunded honeymoon, and a spiral of late-night whiskey-fueled therapy videos on YouTube. He was supposed to be here with someone else. Instead, he came alone, out of spite, sadness, and a desperate need to feel something different. But he didn't say any of that. Instead, he shrugged. Long story. But I guess I needed to fall into a pool to realize I should talk to strangers more often. Claire raised her glass. To strange entrances and even stranger vacations. He clinked his plastic water bottle against her margarita. Maybe this trip wasn't a total disaster after all. The next morning, Andrew wasn't sure if the whole thing had actually happened. The fall, the towel, the girl named Claire with the raspy laugh and sharp comebacks. He hadn't taken her number, hadn't even asked. Maybe he didn't want to jinx it. But around 10 a.m., while balancing a paper plate of hotel pancakes and slightly undercooked bacon, he heard someone behind him say, "Back in dry clothes. That's progress." He turned. There she was, baseball cap again, this time with sunglasses and a smoothie the color of radioactive algae. "You stalking me?" Andrew grinned. Claire shrugged. "Just trying to avoid more sequins and bridal-themed karaoke. You looked like the safer option." They sat together, and the conversation flowed like they'd known each other longer than 12 hours. They talked about everything and nothing. Her job, graphic designer, freelance. His job, IT systems analyst, bored out of his skull. The best pizza in Chicago. Her conspiracy theory that all hotel pillows are designed to ruin sleep. And why Andrew still doesn't trust birds. "Too beady-eyed," he insisted. Claire laughed. "You're weird." "I get that a lot." She sipped her smoothie. "I mean it in a good way." That hit different. Andrew was used to being the background character, the guy you dated when you were tired of bad boys, the nice one who listened too much and said too little. But Claire wasn't just tolerating his quirks, she was matching them, beat for beat. When lunch rolled around, she invited him to join her group for tacos on the beach. "Won't I ruin the whole girl group vibe?" he asked. Claire tilted her head. "They won't notice. They're already 3 margaritas deep and trying to figure out how to ride a banana boat." So he went. Met her friends, a chaotic mix of marketing interns, aspiring influencers, and one med student who asked if Andrew had any weird moles. It should have been awkward, but with Claire nearby, nothing was. Later, they walked back toward the resort together, sand clinging to their feet. "I still can't believe that fall," she said, chuckling. Andrew rolled his eyes. "Please don't make me relive it." She smiled. "I'm glad it happened." He stopped walking. "So am I." The moment hung there. Not romantic, not dramatic, just real. Claire looked at him. "You're different from most guys I meet on vacation." "How so?" "You're not trying so hard." Andrew laughed. "That's just because I already embarrassed myself in front of you." She smiled. "Exactly. No pressure." And for once, Andrew believed it. No pressure. No expectations. Just a moment that felt like the beginning of something. Or maybe the middle of something unexpected. That evening, Claire texted him. "Wait! Rewind!" Yes, she somehow got his number from one of her friends who totally vibed with him over tacos. Modern romance. Her message. "Fire show at 8. Poolside. You coming? Or you afraid of open flames after the whole water incident?" Andrew grinned like a kid and texted back, "I fear nothing but wet flip-flops and melted phones. Be there." The fire dancers were part of the resort's nightly entertainment. Shirtless locals spinning flaming batons while dramatic music blasted through cheap speakers. It was cheesy, a little dangerous, and absolutely mesmerizing. Claire found him early and led him to a pair of lounge chairs at the back, just far enough from the crowd to talk without shouting. She handed him a cold bottle of Coke and said, "No pool this time, promise." They sat side by side, legs stretched out, the glow of fire reflecting off the water. "Ever feel like everything makes more sense on vacation?" Claire asked. Andrew turned to her. "You mean like when you're far from your regular life, suddenly it's easier to breathe?" "Exactly," he nodded. "Yeah, no meetings, no traffic, no overthinking." Claire sipped her drink. "I'm the queen of overthinking. I once broke up with a guy because he texted K instead of OK." Andrew burst out laughing. "That actually feels fair, right?" The show ramped up. A performer lit both ends of a staff and flipped it behind his back, earning a roar of applause. Claire leaned in. "You know what's crazy? You falling in that pool might be the most authentic moment I've seen all year." Andrew smirked. "Authentically embarrassing? Number just real. Everyone's always trying to look cool. You didn't try, and it was kind of great." He paused, touched by her honesty. "You ever think maybe we meet certain people exactly when we're supposed to?" he asked. Claire looked at him, not laughing now. "I do." There was a beat of silence. Then, "I leave the day after tomorrow," she said quietly. That pulled Andrew out of the firelit haze. "Already?" "Yeah. Back to L.A., back to deadlines and rent and people who ghost after 2 dates." Andrew nodded slowly. "That's soon." Claire studied him. "Would you have wanted more time?" "Yes," he said, without hesitation. Another fire blast lit the sky, orange and loud, and for a second, Andrew could see the look in her eyes, cautious, curious, like someone trying to balance hope and reason. He didn't know what this was, or where it would go, but for the first time in years, he wanted to find out. The next morning hit differently. Andrew woke up with a strange weight in his chest. Not the usual vacation hangover or sunburn discomfort, but the awareness that time was running out. Claire was leaving tomorrow. He didn't know what he wanted exactly. He just knew he wasn't ready for goodbye. So he texted her, short and simple. "Got any time to waste before reality kicks back in?" She replied almost instantly, "Wasting time is my specialty. Meet me in the lobby at 11. And just like that, the day became theirs. They rented scooters and took off down the coast. No plans, no GPS, just open road and ocean air. They stopped for coconut water at a roadside shack where a local woman with gold teeth tried to sell them matching straw hats. Claire bought 2. "Souvenirs for when you forget me," she joked, handing him one. "I'm more worried I'll remember too well," he said. That made her pause. She looked at him longer than usual, but she didn't say anything. At a cliffside trail, they hiked barefoot over hot rocks to reach a viewpoint with a ridiculous panorama of blue sea and white sand. Claire pulled out her phone, turned it to selfie mode, and said, "Okay, 1 photo, just to prove this happened." They posed, Claire grinning, Andrew half squinting in the sun. She tapped the screen. "Okay, that's the only memory I'm taking back." "You're not into photos?" "I'm not into souvenirs that make me miss things more than I already will." They sat quietly for a while, watching waves crash below. Andrew finally said, "Why does it feel like this should last longer?" Claire smiled sadly. "Because maybe it's real. And real things always feel too short when they're good." He looked over at her. Messy hair, sunburned nose, the edge of her t-shirt fluttering in the breeze. and realized he hadn't felt this alive in a very, very long time. That night, they met again. One last dinner. No makeup, no pretending, just tacos, 2 beers, and the weight of goodbye. At the end, she walked him back to his room. They stood by the door, neither one ready to speak. "I hate this part," Andrew admitted. Claire nodded. "Me too." Then, softly, "You want me to stay?" The question hung there like a match above dry leaves. But Andrew didn't answer. Not because he didn't want her to, but because he knew the question wasn't fair. She had a life, a city, a story that didn't belong to him. He smiled gently instead. "You made this week the best accident of my life." She laughed, then leaned in and kissed him. Slow, warm, final. And when she pulled away, she whispered, "Don't fall in any more pools." The Chicago wind hit Andrew like a slap. After days of humid sun and turquoise water, everything about home felt gray. The sky, the street, even the people moving like ghosts through O'Hare Airport. He rolled his suitcase out to the rideshare zone in silence. No one waiting for him. No excited dog. No welcome back hug. Just his apartment, empty and quiet. And one unread text from Claire. "Boarding. You were the best part. Don't forget." He stared at it for a long time. Did he text back? Of course. Impossible to forget. Safe flight. But that was it. No plans, no promises. Just two people returning to their separate lives after one shared week of chaos and connection. Back in his apartment, the silence echoed. The fridge was empty. His plants were half dead. His phone sat on the counter charging, still acting glitchy from its dive into the pool. He stood in his living room for a full 10 minutes, doing nothing. Just existing in the strange quiet after something meaningful ends. The next day at work, no one noticed he'd been gone. His manager asked him to fix a database issue, then immediately forgot about him again. When his co-worker asked how his vacation went, he just said, "Warm. Weird. Kinda unforgettable." Nights were the worst. Lying in bed, thinking about what she might be doing 3 time zones away. Wondering if she missed him too, or if he was already fading into vacation story territory. He opened their selfie once, just once. They looked stupid happy. Sand in their hair, sun in their eyes. Real smiles, not the kind you post for likes. He didn't save it to his phone. Didn't set it as a wallpaper. Just looked, then closed it. Because the truth was, he didn't know what to do with something that felt real, but existed in a place that no longer did. One night, he got a text. "Claire, I just passed a guy in a Cubs hat who looked like you. Almost ran into a fountain. Thought you'd be proud." Andrew laughed out loud in the middle of the street. He stared at the message, thumbs hovering over the keyboard. Then he typed, "You thinking what I'm thinking?" She replied with 3 dots. Then, "Say it." And Andrew, heart pounding, wrote, "What if this wasn't just a vacation thing?" Long pause. Then came the reply, "Then I guess it's not over, is it? Long distance was never part of the plan." But then again, neither was falling for someone in a swimsuit after face planting into a pool. Andrew and Claire started texting every day. Not just good morning and good night, but everything in between. Memes, playlists, photos of weird coffee shop signs, screenshots of awkward Zoom meetings. Sometimes it felt like they were still there, somewhere on that beach, cracking jokes between margaritas and sunscreen reapplications. But other times, it felt like trying to hold sunlight in a jar. Their first video call lasted 4 hours. She wore glasses, no makeup, hair tied up. He couldn't stop smiling. He showed her his apartment. She laughed at how many tech gadgets he owned. She showed him the mural outside her studio. He said it looked like a bird exploded, and she said, "Exactly why I love it." It was effortless and also exhausting, because texting and calling and waiting and hoping, that takes energy, especially when you're not sure what the end goal is. 2 weeks in, Andrew floated the idea. "So, do we just keep doing this until one of us buys a plane ticket?" Claire didn't answer right away. Then, "Is that a challenge?" 2 days later, she sent him a flight confirmation. LAX or D, Friday, 6:30 p.m., window seat. Hope your couch is comfy. Andrew nearly dropped his phone. He'd cleaned his apartment twice before she arrived, bought new pillows, Googled best deep dish pizza spots, even though he hated deep dish. He wanted it to be perfect. But when she walked through the gate and smiled at him like no time had passed, he realized something. He didn't need it to be perfect. He just needed her there. The weekend flew by in a blur of laughter, museums, late-night ramen, and one very awkward attempt to ice skate. They didn't talk about what this is. They just lived it. They kissed under street lamps, fell asleep on the couch watching bad documentaries, took 100 blurry photos that no one else would understand. And when she left that Sunday night, he walked her to the gate and said, "This isn't just a vacation story anymore." She looked at him and said softly, "Good, because I don't want it to be." 2 months later, Claire came to visit again. Only this time, she didn't pack a return ticket. She said it casually, over pancakes at the same diner where Andrew used to eat alone, watching couples share waffles and inside jokes. "I sublet my apartment," she said, pouring syrup like she wasn't dropping a bomb. He blinked. "Wait, what?" She smiled. "I figured I could design freelance from anywhere. So why not here? I mean, assuming your couch still likes me." Andrew stared, mouth half open, fork hovering mid-air. Then, without thinking, he said, "You can have the bed. I'll take the couch." The first few weeks weren't a romantic movie. She used all the hot water. He forgot to buy more toilet paper. Her weird herbal shampoo made the bathroom smell like a forest fire. He left cables everywhere. They bickered over small things. They laughed at stupid ones. They built a routine, a messy, honest, beautiful one. One night, while watching a rerun of The Office, Claire turned to him and said, "Do you ever think about how weird this all was?" Andrew smiled. "You mean the pool, the towel, the straw hats?" "All of it," he nodded. "Every day." She nudged him. "Do you regret it?" He looked at her, her bare feet curled under her, the sweatshirt she stole from him, the half-eaten popcorn bowl between them, and said, "It's the best thing that's ever happened to me." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Good, because I think I'm falling in love with you, Andrew the pool guy." He didn't flinch, didn't joke. He just took her hand and said, "I already fell. Head first, literally." Months passed, seasons changed, and that ridiculous vacation story? It became their favorite origin tale, told at dinner parties, shared with friends, laughed about over wine and Spotify playlists. Sometimes, when strangers asked how they met, Claire would say, "He fell into a pool. I handed him a towel. He never gave it back." And Andrew would smile, knowing she never really meant the towel.